Face masks has been at the center of our conversation about how to respond to coronavirus for a couple months now. Face masks protect our first responders. We know that. There's some question that maybe they could protect the entire population. But in either case, we don't have enough of them. So for the past couple of weeks, we've been trying to figure out why. Why are we short of something as simple as a mask? Well, today, about 2 hours ago, actually, I had a phone conversation with someone who's trying to get masks for his state, the state of Florida. That conversation was so compelling and so upsetting that at the last minute we scrapped our original plans for tonight's show and we moved this interview to the top. That person is Jared Moskowitz. He's the director of the Florida Division of Emergency Management, and we're happy to have him on tonight. Jared, thanks so much for coming on. So, simple question. Repeat for our audience, if you would, what you told me about your efforts to get masks for your state, which, by the way, is your job. What happened?
Yeah, no, thanks, Tucker. I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate you featuring this story. It's important for all the healthcare workers and nurses and doctors and first responders on the front line. Now, listen, for the last several weeks, we've had like a boiler room in our EOC chasing down 3M authorized distributors, brokers, supposedly representing that they sell N95 masks only to get to warehouses that are completely empty, being told that our shipments are on cargo planes and the flights don't even appear on FlightAware. We're chasing ghosts, Tucker. And so, you know, I just decided to turn up the heat and tell people what is actually happening in the N95 mask space. And so, you know, 3M reached out to us today. Their government relations folks wanted to have a conversation, and I thought perhaps maybe what 3M would finally say to me is that they have masks to sell me. But what I actually found out is even more frightening. It's what we suspected, which is that the system is completely broken, and that the authorized distributors who right now can't tell me a timeline when I'm going to receive my masks orders that I put in a month ago. And by the way, the terms and conditions are, you know, I got to pay for the masks and can't cancel my order, is that 3M has lost total control. And so what I asked 3M is that, are they aware that their authorized distributors, U.S. companies, are telling me that the reason why our orders are being pushed down is because foreign countries are showing up with cash to purchase the orders. And when I told 3M that, not only did they not dispute it, I asked them if they've put out any guidance to prevent the behavior, and the answer was no. And so when I asked 3M, you know, what is your production? They said they're making 10 million masks a week. And when I said, great, I have money, I'd like to purchase some of those, they said I couldn't, that they have no masks to sell me. And it's criminal what's happening, Tucker. Now, I want to say something very clear. This is not about the workers in the factories at 3M who are working 24 hours a day to try to create this life-saving PPE. This is about the executives who decided not to put America first, and it's going to have devastating consequences.
So I just want to encapsulate what you said, because I just want this to sink in for the audience. You try to get an answer. You're in charge of procuring these for the first responders in Florida. You're not some guy off the street. You're a government official trying to help a state that is becoming one of the centers of the outbreak, Florida. And you basically got the runaround. So you went after 3M on Twitter, and they responded. And people noticed it, and they responded. And you said, why can't I get it? And they basically said, we have no control. Our dealers are selling some of these masks to foreign countries because they got there first or they're paying cash. And you said, well, shouldn't you tell your distributors to make a priority for America, for the states, for the local governments, or first responders, physicians, nurses, EMTs? And they said, no, we haven't done that. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah, not only is that a fair summary, it's exactly what's happening. It's why Governor DeSantis said the other day it's shady as hell. Because that's exactly what it is. I mean, 3M is an ice cream store that doesn't sell ice cream, apparently. I mean, since when do we have a U.S. company who sells masks and I try to offer them money and they won't sell them to me? That, you know, I have to go through their authorized distributors, and their only excuses is that they don't have a perfect system. Well, that's great that they don't have a perfect system, and that, you know, I'm relegated to making deals with brokers at costs that are 10 and sometimes 20 times the actual cost of these masks, which, you know what, at the end of the day, Tucker, regardless of the cost at this point, getting the mask is the most important thing at the moment. We can't even get them because, like I said, I mean, we get to these warehouses.
The rub is you represent Florida, and if they said, "You look, I'm sorry, Michigan got there first, or California is on the list, or New York has a massive outbreak right now, and they need these masks," I think everyone would understand that. But you learned that these masks are literally being sold to foreign countries in the middle of a pandemic from which we are suffering profoundly. And I guess Michael Roman, who's the CEO of this company, who's doing a star turn on TV, I notice, never told the distributors that this country comes first. That's just bizarre to me. It's shocking to me.
And the funny thing is that is not a rumor. That's not something that was suggested. The 3M authorized distributors, which there are only about 20 of those companies, 3M lists them on their website. Though the 3M authorized distributors are telling me this. They're specifically saying, listen, we're sorry that your order got pushed down, but there are folks showing up to the factories. There are folks showing up to us, calling us, paying cash. And when I said, what do you mean there are folks? They said, well, listen, you know, there are foreign countries that do business differently. They're showing up with cash. And that is the idea that an American company is selling masks away from our hospitals, away from our doctors, away from the real heroes on the front lines, is something that, you know, will long be investigated after this, but it's really criminal. What is happening that I can't, that I can't, and other emergency management directors, other CEOs of hospitals can't get what this is life-saving PPE because a company decided to make a globalist decision and not put America first.
You know, you'd think that the government affairs guy who called you today would have thought, you know, this is pretty disgusting what I'm defending. You know, maybe I'll just send a memo to Michael Roman and say, hey, you know, Mr. CEO, you should tell our distributors to put the state of Florida above, say, China. But they did. Jared Moskowitz, I really am thankful that you came on tonight. That's the most vivid description I've heard. I appreciate it.
No, Tucker, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, amazingly, as coronavirus loomed larger and larger in the distance and then started moving here at high speed, our government did nothing to stop the export of goods that could prove essential, and not just masks, though including masks. Throughout January and February, this country, its companies, exported $60 million worth of masks, ventilators, and personal protective gear to China, which started all this. Now, today,